Join the conversation to McNally Robinson on the last Tuesday of the month. For more information, contact joanne.kelly@sjrb.ca or call 480-3410.
Basically, what I was trying to get across, I wanted first of all, they're Texas Longhorns. I wanted them to come forward and really be a presence within the painting. I'm also an environmentalist, and I'm very concerned about what is happening out there. And as you can see with this painting, they're coming out of a brush fire, so there's drama involved. And they're coming forward, and they're trying to connect with the viewer. And if they're able to do that, then that shows a success for me. You know, the connection is critical, yeah. And the painting is done mainly, it's acrylics, and it's collage. And there's a lot of paper collage, and it's Japanese rice paper, washi papers, and it's layers and layers and layers on layers that brings that forward, and then with acrylics on top.
That's Anne Lehman, a Winnipeg artist, talking about her award-winning piece of work, Burning Light. And Bonnie, it's so great to hear an artist express what they're trying to put into a picture, because it's so interpretive. Walking down these halls and seeing the paintings, you and I are having some great conversations about what you see in a painting. I might see something different, and I know you don't want to narrow people's perspectives. You want it to be open so anybody can interpret what they can out of these paintings.
That's very true, Joanne, because the viewer is very much a part of the process. The artist has put himself out on the canvas and has a message, or possibly has an intention, undoubtedly has an intention. And the viewer is looking at this and interpreting. Now, the viewer, from their viewpoint, may get that message or get a different message. It's up to that viewer. So if I expound on my point of view on something, if I tell you don't look at the moon in that painting, which may have or may not have a moon, then you'll look at it and see nothing but the moon. So there is a lot of adventure available here to the viewer.
Well, it is interesting that of the jurors who were judging these paintings, and of course, so thrilled to have so much local work here. It's incredible. But what they're really looking for too is that emotional connection. They're looking for artists who have so mastered the field in which they work that they're stepping beyond it now and playing with the borders of it. And there's the painting that we both kind of stopped to look at, and again, it's Anne with the polar bear, and it's a beautiful, fantastical photo painting, but it's also very real because of the color of the polar bear.
Well, that's what my eye tells me. I have seen real polar bears, and they're not all white, and when I look at Anne's painting, I'm not looking at an icon of a polar bear, because she's taken a lot of trouble to put all of the colorations in a polar bear in her painting. It would be as complex as painting snow, because it's really not white, it's reflective. So what the artist in that case has done is explored what the eye is perceiving. And that's, I think, the interest behind something like that, and you see that in many of the paintings here. Are you looking at something that you think you're looking at? And if you come with someone else who may think something different, you'll have a very interesting dialogue and perhaps come away with a different point of view of that painting.
Well, the idea of complex themes and concepts in a painting. This painting right here, it's gorgeous. It looks like it could be on Wellington Crescent with a little girl on a gate. How do you capture movement in a painting? Well, this artist has done that.
The painting is of a little girl swinging on a gate, and the artist wanted to convey that movement. So the first thing this artist has done is unsettle the eye. All of a sudden, what you're seeing is some juxtaposed angular gate at an odd angle, and as soon as your eye interprets that, then you're looking for some kind of sense to the background. But it's kind of like going over a hill, and it's that moment you're going over the hill and you're not sure of what is there, or your stomach isn't sure of what is there. You know you're going to settle on the right side, but there's that anticipation, and that's the moment that this particular artist, I think, is captured by taking lines and color and form and just simply angling them against each other. And when you look at it and settle on, well, that is a girl swinging on a gate, and I can tell you that because I think that's what it is, then you say, isn't that clever? wonder. Isn't that unusual? And you believe it, but you never ever stop ceasing, or you never cease to wonder at the achievement in being able to do that in a two-dimensional form.
And people watching right now should be impressed when they look down the rows of paintings and down around the corner as well. These are all Manitoba artists. I mean, we should be very proud and impressed at the range of work here.
Absolutely. This is the 79th exhibit, such exhibit in Manitoba, sponsored by the Manitoba Society of Artists. And it's a call for submission from any Manitoba artist. And there is no qualification required, simply to be resident in the province. And the paintings are submitted, and they are subjected to jurying by 2 outside jurors. And they take 2 days to go through and cull. First of all, they decide what they want the show to say between them, because they're the jurors and they're the only say in what it will be in the show. And we just stand back and watch them go to work. And believe me, there were 237 works submitted from the entire province, and only 104 are here. And it is not because the works that are not here weren't good or weren't excellent, but the jurors were looking for one particular statement, and they were looking for a consistency within that, and so this is their show, essentially.
And you've got a big conference coming up in the fall as well.
We do. On October 22nd, MSA is sponsoring an art history conference. It is titled The Visual Voice, which is the voice of the two-dimensional art you see, and the artist. The artist's voice is an eternal triangle of the artist himself, the viewer, and the viewer's injection into the artistic comment, and then the object standing on its own. So what we see is the artist in the act of creation has an intention, and he speaks his point. It's his turn to make his point. He does that. He exhibits it. The viewpoint of the viewer has something to do with the interpretation of the work as well. But at some point in the future, the viewpoint changes because the culture changes, the society changes. So we're looking at that work differently. Is it still art? We ask the question again. And then at an even more distant point, both of the artist and the viewpoint disappear, and all we have left is the art object, as in archaeological research and ancient art that we so much appreciate. We derive from that, or we reject it, or we move on from it, or we inspire from it, but always that discussion goes on. Is it art? And possibly on October the 22nd, I don't think we're going to answer that, but we're simply going to provide a lot of information, and people will mull over the eternal question.
And to get your interest sparked in this conference, it's a perfect opportunity to come down to the Bay. We're on the 6th floor right by the Paddle Wheel Restaurant, and just absorb the local art that's been done here. And you can also buy paintings as well. And I want to leave you now with one of the first place winners talking about her painting about mental telepathy, and she explains the wires and the Morse code kind of look that she gave to this, and explains what it means to her. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne.
This is about mental telepathy, which we all have, and we don't realize that we have, but I've been interested in it forever. And so I thought, well, I wanted to depict this on a piece of paper. Didn't quite know how I was going to do it, but I just kept working at it, and I kind of went like with the Morse code kind of a thing, you know, telephone wires, that sort of thing. And the people that I have put in it are not portraits of anybody in particular. They're strictly imaginary, because people don't like having their portraits in my paintings for some reason. And so that's how I came up with it. And the colors, I just like those colors. And I put the trees in because I think mental telepathy is very natural to all of us. We don't realize it, but it is. And I put the houses in there because that's part of our environment. And also symbolically, squares and rectangles depict security. So many times telepathy has made me feel very secure.